Okay, well, hello everyone. Profesor Cañedo here, and for those of you, of course, in the Grossman sections, you know the drill by now. You know what's going to be happening here for about the next eight to 10 minutes. But for those of you that just started with me with the Chicano Studies 141 A class, the Mason College section, this is new territory for you. So let me talk to those of you first in the 141A class and in the Grossman sections. Just hang in there with me for a few minutes and let me get to say hello to the new people. But yes, what you're seeing here is this is the first of several roll call videos that you'll be seeing for the starting this week for the remainder of the session. What happens is every Monday I'm going to give you videos that I call roll call, even though it's technically not a roll call. I'm not going to be going over everybody's roster and expecting everybody to reply. Obviously, with everyone's schedules, sometimes you won't get to your emails or you won't see this, so it wouldn't make any sense. I'd be waiting all week to see if I hear back from everybody. But even though I call it roll call, basically what it is, it's my way of saying hello to everybody at the beginning of the week. So whether for those of you in the 141A class, and of course for those individuals who have been with me all semester long, the Grossmont College History 108 and 109 sections, I just talk about everything that's happening during the week for each of my given classes. And to speed things along, to make things efficient, excuse me, everybody. Crazy weather. It's been dry out here the last couple of days, so the constant changes definitely cause me to hack and sneeze and cough from time to time. But to make things more efficient, the way this works is that I have this picture frame here. And depending on which class I'm talking to at the moment, I've got the friend that indicates the class that I'm talking to. So right now the focus is for those who are in the 141A class. So in the next 3 or 4 minutes, I'm going to tell you what's happening this week. And then when I'm done with those of you in the 141A class, what I do is I take one of my note cards off, and then I talk to my next class. So after I'm done with those who are in the 141A class, I'm going to talk to my Grossmont class, the History 109, and then I've got History 108 right after this. So that's the way that this works. Sometimes what happens is I tend to talk a little bit longer to one class compared to others. Maybe I've got some more information. But depending on which class you're in, you can definitely fast forward on YouTube to get to the section, to get to the class that you're looking at. So this definitely helps for the classes that I tend to talk to last, that I talk to last in the video. So that class can just fast forward about 5 or 6 minutes, 6 or 7 minutes, and then get to when I start talking to that class, depending on what I have right here on the have on the note cards. So that's the plan for the remainder of the session. I'll be with you for the rest of the semester and telling you what's going to be happening on a weekly basis. So because you guys are the new kids on the block, so to speak, let me tell you right now what's coming up this week as we get into the second week of the session. This week we're going to go ahead and start getting into what's called the Classic period in Mesoamerica. That entails complex civilizations and cultures like Teotihuacan, the Maya, and a little bit about Monte Alban, which of course was a dominant and powerful society in the present-day region of Oaxaca in the south of Mexico. So what you have to do work on this week, those of you in the 141A class, please read pages 83 to 218 of the Ancient Mexico book. And then when you go into the module section, you notice I changed the wording for modules. Instead of the modules being called learning modules, I now change them to weekly modules, which seems to make more sense. Some of you wrote to me and were concerned in terms of where to find everything. So I figure by changing the folder or the section to weekly modules, that'll definitely help you out quite a bit. So in the week 2 module, if you advance past the page 1 where I have the introduction or the introductory overview essay, and then I've got a clip of me talking about the events, the readings from a class I taught at Southwestern College a few years ago. In page 2 of the module, you've got online articles from National Geographic about the Maya. Check those out. And there's also a PDF copy of Transparency that I made for the online sections of this class a few years ago about Teotihuacan. So check that out. And then if you advance to page 3 of the of this week's module, you've got the film about the Maya from National Geographic. It's a 1992 film. Even though it's definitely getting up there in years, almost a quarter century, it's still quite valid in terms of the amount of information. So check that out. The legendary actress Susan Sarandon narrates that. There's also a detailed film summary to go along with that. Okay, in terms of quizzes, due dates, discussion stuff, and all of that, quiz one's going to be ending tonight, so before midnight, make sure you get your quiz results in. Now, for those of you that just joined the class late, don't worry about taking this quiz. Just get caught up in terms of what's happening in the class and get your textbooks. And when you're ready to take the quiz, let me know this week, and I'll get you a password to take quiz 1. So again, that's for those of you that just added the class late. As for other quizzes, quiz 2 is going to be opening up on Thursday. That's going to be covering this week's topics on the classic period, and I'll have the study guide for the quiz on Wednesday inside the main forum in the discussion board. And speaking of forums, at the end of this week, it's now time to start talking to the groups in the class. So discussion group 1, please have your form 1 comments ready for me on Friday by the end of the week, and next weekend I will reply to each and every one of you. You'll notice that I changed the letters, there's the order in terms of who's in which group. So definitely check that out to make sure you know which group that you're in. So I think that I had those of you with last names A to CE, you're in group 1, and then those of you with last names that begin with CO to M. I believe it was M. Yeah, CO to M. You're in group 2. Everybody else, I think it's N to W, N to Z. You guys are in group 3. Okay, and let's see what else I need to mention. All right, so that's it. That's the plan for those of you in the 141A class. So I definitely wanted to make sure that I got you guys straightened out in terms of what's coming up on a weekly basis. So every Monday, just to tune in here to the first announcement, and I'll tell you what's happening on a weekly basis, the topics and events and due dates for the week. Next week, I'll talk to one of my Grossmont classes first, and then I'll come back and talk to you. Okay, all right, let me go ahead and now start talking to those individuals who are in my Grossmont sections. And I'm going to go ahead and switch gears and talk to those individuals in the History 109 class. All right, History 109. Here's what you have for this week. That is your 10th week of the class. Let's go on to World War II this week. I want you to check out the Chapter 10 in the Who Built America text. You've got a PowerPoint on the event that happened in Los Angeles, one of the darker periods in terms of cultural and social history. That's the infamous Zoot Suit riots of 1942, 1943. Sadly, a lot of the themes which played into the anti-Mexican hysteria seems to be echoed quite a bit in some of the campaign mumbo jumbo going on with Mr. Trump and his people. It's just amazing how history not so much repeats itself, but it rhymes, and I think we're seeing clear evidence of that in these modern times. So check out the PowerPoint on the Zoot Suit riots. Listen to Professor Moss's podcast on World War II, and check out Chapter 7, Part 7 of the Ken Burns Jazz series. Your podcast journal 10 entries are due on Thursday, the 27th, and quiz 10 is going to be starting on Friday, the 28th. All right, next up, let me go ahead now and talk to those of you in the History 108 class. And for you guys in the 108 class, here's what's happening for your 10th week. The topic for this week is Northern Society and the Growth of the Middle Class. Please read Chapter 7 of Who Built America text and continue with more of Daughter of Fortune. Check out chapters 8 to 10, which correspond to pages 119 to 169. We're finding out more and more about the adventures of Eliza as we meet more and more characters, of course, such as the Chinese character Dao Jian, and of course all the intrigue going on within the Summers family. I already gave you a review video on the first set of readings for Daughter of Fortune, and within the next couple of days I'll have a second video in which I talk about last week's readings. That is, those were chapters 4 through 7 of Daughter of Fortune. Your PowerPoint for this week is on the era of good feelings, which took place during the during the first quarter, that is about the 1810s to 1820s in the United States, mainly the presidency of James Monroe. And your podcast is Nationalism, Sexualism, and Democracy. Your Chapter 9, your Journal 9 podcast entries are due on Wednesday, and Quiz 9 is going to begin for you on Friday. And right now, the majority of you already have your video review grades. Those of you that sent in your reviews late, you'll be getting your grades within the next couple of days. And on that note too, let me just quickly mention, this will be helpful for your second video review and your other assignments, namely the book review the EBSCO review that's also due a little bit later on the semester. Several of you have tendencies in which your paragraphs need a lot of work. Some of you have the habit of making very lengthy paragraphs. When you do that, that totally bogs down and just your arguments get lost in a big maze, a jumble of words. You got to tighten up on that stuff. Don't make your paragraphs longer than a page, and definitely don't make your paragraphs 2 pages or more. When you get into that territory, that really damages your argument. So stay away from really long paragraphs, and conversely, a lot of you write 2 short paragraphs. You can't do that either. Please don't make paragraphs that are about 3 sentences or less. When you do that, those are like speed bumps that really slow down the flow of your ideas, your thoughts, your perspective, your arguments. Don't do that either. So again, don't make really long paragraphs, and don't give me very short paragraphs. Things like that don't do you any good in terms of developing your arguments. Always keep your paragraphs within the range of about, within the range of about 1/2 a page to about a little bit more than 3/4 of a page, like 7/8 of a page, a little bit less than a page. Those are good parameters in terms of developing your paragraphs. Fix those up, and I guarantee you that for your next video review assignment and for your EBSCO paper, that'll result in some stronger grades. So definitely for those of you who are in those categories with the really long paragraphs, with the very short paragraphs, take that advice, and that'll give you a better chance of getting stronger essay grades. Okay, well that's the plan for this week. So the 10th week for those of you in the Grossmont sections, and the second week for those of you in the New Mesa College class. Next week, I anticipate that our next roll call video will be, we'll get back to about the 9-10 minute range, but because we had some new people joining us, I decided to go a little bit longer just to make sure that they were welcome in this little club, this little clique. I guess you could say that those of you in the Grossmont class have definitely been a part of. All right, well that's me. That's it for now. That's it for El Profesor Cañedo, and I'll see you guys again next week for the week 11 roll call, or the week 3 roll call for the Mesa group.